Hello there, welcome to another ReviewSpace Top 10. In this Top 10, I'm going to talk about the top 10 games that I never finished. That's right, these are the top 10 games I never beat, never completed, never beat the final boss, the final sequence, the final stage, and I just never saw the credits, the final cutscenes and all that, unfortunately. So let's begin. Number 1, Shadow of the Colossus. Came out in 2005 on the PS2. This was a great game for sure, one of the best adventure-style games on the PlayStation 2, 6th Gen. I never beat this one. This was a big, not necessarily regret, I still have the game. And it's just that I never beat it, and it always I felt disappointed. You know, I never got to finish off the final boss. I got stuck on the final boss, the giant monster, whatever the hell that was. And I couldn't defeat it. I always kept falling off because it was just this giant, towering, hulking creature. And I just kept falling off, and I just kept dying and losing. And so I couldn't see the ending. So eventually I was like, screw this, I'm done. Stopped playing it. I just went on YouTube and looked up, you know, the damn ending. This was many years ago, actually. And this was Shadow of the Colossus, a great game, and I guess someday I can still try to tackle it, but definitely a challenging one. Much more difficult than Eco, its a predecessor. Eco was a lot more simple to defeat. You know, it still had a puzzle element to it, but definitely not as difficult as Shadow of the Colossus with its majestic boss fights. It was incredible. Number 2, GTA San Andreas. From 2004, this was on the PS2. You know, it's weird because I don't know if they got easier as the generations went by. Like, you know, by GTA 4, it was just so easy to defeat the GTA games. And the episodes, Liberty City and all that, and GTA 5, all these games got gradually easier. I don't know what it is. I'm playing games like Vice City and San Andreas and even the PSP games. The older, you know, 6th Gen GTA games were just more difficult. San Andreas was the big one though, because that's the one that I played the most, invested my time in it the most, got as far as I could across the giant stages, the cities, the deserts, the damn, you know, there was a Las Vegas section, I think. There was a section we could go to the LA, Los Angeles section. And all these different places, I just couldn't defeat the game. You know, I think I got stuck somewhere along the missions, and I just couldn't beat the missions. I couldn't advance anymore. I kept dying all the time. That's unfortunate because San Andreas is a great title. It's a great game. It's a huge world. Spent a lot of hours playing it, and to this day I still haven't beaten it. Never saw the final, you know, the ending and the cutscenes and the cinematics and the credits. I still haven't seen it after 10 plus years of the game coming out. Great game though. Number 3, Killzone 2 on the PS3, came out in 2009. Killzone 2 is a classic, definitely one of the best FPS games on the PlayStation 3 and the last gen. This one sucks, particularly. I got really far with it. I think I got all the way up to the very final sequence of the game, the very final section where you get to face a lot of the enemies. They come out of the woodwork, and you're stuck in this room where it was like 2-layered. You can go upstairs, there's a downstairs, and everybody's just shooting at you. And they just come out like roaches. They just keep shooting at you, and it's very difficult. I don't know why it was so hard. I don't know. I think I might have set the difficulty to really high, and I was just stuck in that level. Couldn't beat it, couldn't defeat it. So eventually, I was just like, screw this, and you know, I ended up looking the damn ending on YouTube because I'm such a freaking quitter. Definitely a classic game. Maybe someday I'll try and, you know, find the game again and beat it. Number 4, Bionic Commando. Came out in 2009 on multiple platforms, you know, but the PS3 one, that's the one I played the most, and I got stuck. All these games, I get stuck, you know. I don't know what it is. I always get stuck in these damn games. This one especially was infuriating because it was such a great title, you know, it was such a great experience. And I mean, from beginning to when you get rolling with the game, you find out the controls. You got to be good at the controls. You know, this has like specific swinging things. It's not like Spider-Man where it's so easy. This one is timing, timing, and timing. And the problem is there's a section in the game, there's a cave stage. I got stuck on the cave level, and I just couldn't get past it. I got stuck on the cave part because I couldn't make it past the damn caves. I was just falling off. I was getting shot at by enemies in mid-air. I think that's what it was. And I just couldn't get past that certain section. Definitely a good game. It's one of my favorites for sure for the PS3 generation, but couldn't get past it. I've bought the game multiple times. I still have it. And one of these days I definitely want to try to tackle it. But, I don't even know what happens in the end, what happens in the ending. I don't know. Couldn't get past that certain stupid cave section. Oh well. Number 5. The Suffering, Ties That Bind. Came out in 2005 on the PS2. The Suffering, Ties That Bind. This was the sequel to the original Suffering game. This was a multi-plat game, a pretty underrated first-person shooter with horror elements and kind of like a psychological twist to it. The main character is like this twisted guy. He's got like psychological issues, and he turns into a monster in the game. So you can turn into this melee-style monster, kind of like, you know, Sonic in Sonic Unleashed, but not as cartoonish, obviously. It actually reminds me a little bit of Area 51, where the character can turn into a monster creature thing. Anyway, it was a gritty game, you know, very horrific, but just like with the previous games, I just couldn't beat it. I got stuck somewhere along the way. There was a section in the game, it might have been one of the last portions of the game, maybe one of the final bosses or something like that, and the enemies just kept popping out of nowhere. Similar to Killzone 2, they just kept popping out, and they just kept killing me, and I couldn't defeat it. It was so difficult. I just kept dying. You know, I stock up on the weapons. I have whatever amount of weapons I had. I think it's a game where if you lose a certain amount of ammo, you keep it. You keep that limited amount of ammo when you start dying. You know, so when you die in a checkpoint, that's the only amount of ammo you have left. So that might have been one of the problems with the game too. But it's definitely a great game. I might have to play it again. Awesome stuff from the PS2. Suffering Ties That Bind. Never was able to beat it. Number 6. Darksiders on the PS3. See, this one came out in 2010. And Darksiders is a pretty good game. Solid action-adventure style thing. I know it gets compared a lot to God of War, the God of War series, but I liken it to like an amalgamation of like certain games like that, like a little bit of Zelda with a horse, a little bit of God of War, but also a lot of Devil May Cry. Out of all those, I'd say it's more like Devil May Cry. Darksiders is kind of like a Devil May Cry style game. Great boss fights. I just got stuck. Just like with all these games, I just get stuck. I forget exactly when. It was definitely a later point in the game. I was able to beat that sand monster thing, kind of like it was kind of like a Shadow of the Colossus creature, where it would, like a Tremors, it would be stuck in the ground. It would rise up like a shark, but it's on a sand land kind of area. I was able to defeat that, I think, and then I progressed after that, and I couldn't get past a certain section. So just like with a lot of these games, I quit it, I stopped playing it, I was like, fuck this. I looked up the ending on YouTube, because I'm so damn cheap. I looked up the ending, the final boss and all that. It's very cheap. I don't know, it's a good game though. Darksiders, pretty good game. Number 7. Little Big Planet, came out in 2008. The original Little Big Planet, this was a fun game for sure, one of the better platformers of the past 10 years, but I just got stuck again. I don't know. I don't know. I lost patience somewhere along the way. I think I got all the way up to the winter section. There was like not a winter section, but it had a lot of snow. You know, kind of like the Antarctic or Antarctica stage, whatever the hell that was, with snow and ice and all of that. Maybe there were some penguins in there. I don't remember. But definitely a fun game. it was challenging, and I just kept dying. I was like, damn. It was so repetitive, you know, because very trial and error. You know, a lot of these platformers, you just die over and over again. You know, I mean, there's just so much replay, gameplay in there. And I just couldn't get past it. Fairly difficult, and I just stopped playing it. And I got rid of the game years ago. And yeah, I mean, kind of a shame I never was able to finish it. The storyline seemed alright. You know, just, I mean, it was this little whatever doll thing that was going through these worlds. Good game. Number 7. Number 8. God Hand came out on the PS2 in 2006. You know, God Hand is probably one of the most underrated games for sure on the PS2 era. I remember when it first came out and people were like, yeah, this was a pretty good game. And then it disappeared, like after like a whole month. Nobody talked about it, like a month later, I should say. Definitely a fun game, great experience, up to a point where it just got so difficult I couldn't beat it. God Hand is punishingly difficult. You know, it's for hardcore gamers for real. You gotta really sit down and fucking play this thing. It's a beat 'em up basically, and you're going through these stages. You're in a linear stage after stage. You're beating up countless enemies one after the other. Very traditional beat 'em up, and you get to a section where the boss fights just get so goddamn difficult. It was just so difficult. I couldn't get past a certain boss. I was able to get past many of the bosses, like the Power Ranger ripoff and the twins, and there was a lot of different bosses there, but there was a section in there I just couldn't beat a certain boss. Number 9. Mega Man X on the Super NES originally, I mean 93, the game's been out, oh my god, 21 years or something. Holy this is the oldest game on the list. Mega Man X is a classic. It's an all-time favorite for sure, ever since I was a kid in the 90s playing this game. I mean, I always loved it, but I just never could beat it. As a kid then, and as an adult now. Even the fucking, the goddamn remake on the PSP, the X Maverick Hunter or whatever it's called, I couldn't beat that either, you know, because the difficulty is, it is a pretty damn hard game. Like, you gotta be perfect with these Mega Man games in order to beat the final boss. It's pretty easy for the most part. You get from the beginning and beating the first bosses, and then you get through the entire, you know, you beat all the bosses, all the, what the hell are they called? Robots, Reploids, whatever they are. And you kill them, you take their powers, and then you get to the final boss. Or you work your way to the final, you know, stage. I just couldn't beat it. I just kept dying. I could not, even with all my weapons, and I could never get the damn Hadouken thing, you know, the Street Fighter 2 Ryu's fireball projectile that you had to use a cheat, or not a cheat, but a trick in order to get it. I could never get that thing, the Hadouken thing, and I don't know if that helps you a lot. You know, it ups your damage in terms of your power, but I just couldn't beat it. So just look it up on YouTube. Look up the ending and the final boss, and even watching the ending on YouTube, it's not even that impressive. You know, you're expecting like this massive ending that would last like 10 minutes, but it's just this little thing. I don't know. It's just a fun game, though. You just keep replaying this game over and over and over again. It's a classic for sure. I just could never beat it. Number 10. Virtua Fighter 5. This is one of those rare fighting games that I just couldn't beat. This is one of those rare fighting experiences where I'm just like, holy shit, I can't beat the final boss. I could never beat the final character. That fucking, I think his name is, I want to say Dural. I've faced this character so many times. This metallic looking character, I guess. Looks like the T-1000 from Terminator 2. But there's just no way for me to beat this thing. I've played this game so many times on the 360, on the PS3. You know, I've played it from many different angles. I've tried it so many times, and I always lose in the final boss. Here's the problem. When you lose once to this very difficult boss fight, the game ends. Yes, the game is over. It's like, game over, here's the credits, but you can't beat the like, your chances are done. It's kind of like with real arcades when you used to pay coins back in the day. You here's a coin, and then you die, and then you gotta insert another coin, and you run out of coins, you can't play again. Well, it was like this with the final boss. I lose in the boss fight once, and that's it. You go back to square one. You gotta start it all over again. So you're fighting, well, that's like 40, not even that long, 30, 40 minutes of fighting, depending on how much you can go through the arcade mode. Maybe if you're really good, maybe, 10 minutes, I don't know. And it's just difficult. It's just, like, there's a very disappointing, like, letdown almost, because the boss fight, you want the opportunity to fight the boss over and over again. It's not like with Tekken or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat even, or any of these other fighting games that's been released. The countless billion fighting games, even, Soul Calibur. You don't get the chance to fight the final boss multiple times, just once, and then you lose, and then that's it. And then you get the credits technically. I think you get the credits, but it's like game over. You don't see the ending of your character because you lost, and that's really, really shitty. It's a very difficult fighter. It's definitely a great fighting game. I mean, I like Virtua Fighter 5. It's fun. It's just that, and even Virtua Fighter 4, now that I think about it, the previous Virtua Fighter games are like that. You lose once, and then that's it. You're done. Damn! So that's it. That's my top 10 games that I could never finish. For the most part, I mean, I try to beat every single game I have. I mean, I try to finish every single one of them. Because that's the purpose of having these games in the first place. I mean, you name it, man. I mean, all the games I've mentioned in my other top 10s, like the Bioshocks and the Dead Space and the Rainbow Six and all those are beatable. They're so much easier than these games that I mentioned in terms of actually completing it. Now, I get sick, too. I get tired of replaying that same stupid final boss or whatever that stage I'm stuck in. I can't repeat it over and over again because it's such a waste of time. You lose the patience, and then I want to get rid of it and then play something else, because why waste my time on this single game? There's other games to play, and I'm stuck on this. Why waste even any more fucking time that I can't beat this anymore? It's just unfair. I don't know what it is. I think back in the 90s, they were pretty difficult then, but it's like you had less opportunities. You had less options to play anything. It's not like now, where you have like 10,000 platforms, a billion games from different systems and different generations. In the 90s, it was just like, we got a Super Nintendo, N64, PS1, we got these. You don't have every system out there unless you're fucking rich. And that's all you got. You got maybe a few games in every system. And so you just kept playing those games over and over again, just to get as far as you can with it. And that's, I don't know. When I don't beat a game, I feel disappointed. It's like a letdown. It's like, fuck. It's like not finishing a movie, almost. Except there's an even longer time invested in it, because games are a lot longer than movies. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching The Review Space, the most underrated channel on YouTube. For more videos, check out youtube.com/TheReviewSpace.